It is the Britpop Revival Show here on Phonic FM. Now, you might remember, if you were listening to last week's show, we had an old 90s rock star in live in the studio as we played through his album in its entirety, celebrating its 20th anniversary. And we enjoyed it so much, we thought we'll do the same this week. So we've got another one. It's Andy Watts from the Seahorses. Hello, Andy.
Hello. I'm just an aging has-been, darling.
we know how to welcome our guests on this show.
You do. That's amazing. Thank you for having me. That's quite a introduction.
Yes. Indeed. I can edit that all out later.
Nice to be put up there with Silversun.
Yeah.
What a great album.
Well, two fantastic bands and two fantastic albums. The Seahorses Do It Yourself. Its 20th anniversary.
I know.
Yeah, 20 years ago this Friday.
Is it this Friday?
Released. Yeah.
Wow, I was aware of earlier. Was it April that Love Is the Law came out? Because a few people posted about it, and I thought I'd share some very hilarious photographs online of me looking like a miserablest indie kid with some very seriously awful face furniture from 20 years ago. They
were not perhaps your finest snaps, you know.
Well, I was a drummer and I've got a face fit for radio, so, you know, always at the back, out of focus.
I can't possibly comment.
My life has just been a blur, a bit like being photographed in a band.
Other than, of course, you are now a fine and handsome man. Right, so
you need to give your glasses a clean.
Maybe not. Okay, so we're going to play through this in full. This, I've got to say right off the bat, is one of my favourite albums of the 90s. And I never saw the Seahorses live.
Didn't you?
But I did see Chris do a solo acoustic set where he played a few from this.
Yeah.
And that was a fantastic
Chris
experience.
is a marvellous singer and songwriter. Yeah, he really is.
Yeah. And a lot of his solo stuff, again, if you only know him from this album, is well worth digging out.
Chris, I think he did. Just to give Chris a shameless plug, he did the Rookery recently, or a few years ago, which is beautiful. It's quite sort of semi-acoustic, and then he was with a band called The Yards with Stuart, who was the bassist with the Seahorses. And that's great. Funny, and he wrote a very prophetic track called "The Devil Is Alive and Well in DC." I recall, with a bit of politics now. Yeah, it's great. Well worth a listen.
Okie dokie. But we're going to listen to the first track from the album now. This is "I Want You to Know." Because this, actually, when you're putting the album together, who decides the order of the tracks? Is that the record company? Is it John Squire?
No.
Who does that?
We, from what I recall, it was fairly democratic, the process of that. But I actually joined the band quite late in the day. Everything was written. So I just came in and sprinkled my little bit of northern percussion and noise over the top or underneath it in that respect, with just vocals, tambourines and drums. So I think Stuart and Chris wrote this track, and I think from my vague recollection it was one of the first things we rehearsed, but everything was written and I was only in the band I think 3 weeks before we went off to record the album. It was very quick and very, very scary because I had a nice day job and I wasn't expecting anything like that, but that's another story. So yeah, I think it was quite a democratic process from what I recall. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a great tune.
Well, here we go. I Want You to Know. That is "I Want You to Know" by the Seahorses, and we have a live seahorse here in the studio.
A seahorse. I'm so old.
Is that what a former seahorse is? A seahorse?
Well, I like to call them the seahorses now because it's been a long time and it's all dead and buried. Yeah, that's so funny. I couldn't even remember the Blinded by the Sun was number 2.
Yeah, I was just saying to Andy, we're going to play Blinded by the Sun straight away because I'm now in a Seahorses mood, and he said, "Oh, are you not doing it in chronological order?"
I thought it was Suicide Drive next.
Oh, there you go.
What an idiot.
So you were hearing things in that track that you've not noticed for a long time.
I haven't listened to that. I've not listened to the album for quite a long time. I've got it on vinyl and some early test pressings from Geffen, and me and my 3 daughters, Stella, Rosa and Freya, we sat and listened to it some time ago with my partner Sam, and we had a right giggle about it, but that's a few years because they'd never heard it in its entirety. And yeah, I completely forgot about it. But yeah, that track, I forgot there was all the shrieking and screaming in the mix at the end, and you can hear me and
that's you, is it?
And that high little that's me screaming my head off. We just did a load of overdubs in the studio with Tony Visconti, like, "Yay, go for it guys, scream, oh my god." And I I completely forgot that was in the mix. How funny.
Well, you were quite right to say that was Chris Helmer, Stuart Fletcher song. Stuart's only credit on the album as a writer.
Is it really?
Yeah, but one of 3 from Chris, and we're going to hear another one next. This, I believe, and I mean this, again, his acoustic version of this is just
stunning.
It's just stunning.
I think this is. I'm getting goosebumps before we even heard it. Look at that. I think this is probably for me one of the best songs on the album. I think it's absolutely stunning. I'll tell you a funny story about the video in a bit, but the song is, and I'll remember clearly the recording process of this, and standing around in the studio with a 30-piece string section, listening to it in the middle, and one of the double bassists looks just like Tom Selleck, who was Magnum PI in the 80s. I said to him, has anyone ever said you like, yeah, Tom Selleck, yeah, everyone says it all the time, oh my God. And he did. And
the amazing thing was he sounded just like Tony Visconti.
Well, I think they might have been related, to be honest. I'm from New Jersey. Okay. I could be wrong.
Let's play the song. Oh, there we go. That's a bit special, isn't it? And so you were talking about the video for this. Is this the one where you were all in the space suits
yes.
and floating around?
We were floating around in space. 150 grand that cost. We could have all gone on a nice holiday or something.
150 grand.
150 grand back in the day.
Wow.
Mental amount of money. The 2 overriding things I remember from that, we were all having a very good time all of the time during the making of that video. Chris got a haircut in the middle of it, which a few people were very upset about. So you can see he's got 2 haircuts in the video. All I'll say, it was by a Thai hairdresser, so there was he was having some very nice Thai food at the time. I can't remember that. And then
Maybe don't remember too much.
Exactly. I'll be very succinct. I got very sore being in a harness floating around in space. I was lowered down. I was in a spacesuit. I undid it. They sprayed me with some water because it was very hot and sweaty, and something popped out that I didn't realise in front of all the makeup ladies, and everyone giggled, and I quickly readjusted myself and was hoisted back up into the ether. It was very embarrassing, and that was that.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
That didn't make the final cut of the video, that bit, but
thankfully not. No.
Yes. There you go. All right, so we're going to move on.
Were saved. Shall we say? Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, we will be attempting to play the entirety of Do It Yourself by the Seahorses throughout the show today.
I'll try and be quiet. You should have got John in. He's a lot quieter than me, but you have to wait 6 weeks for an answer, unfortunately. In the best possible way.
Our featured album is The Seahorses Do It Yourself. Suicide Drive.
Marvellous.
Yeah. What can you tell us about this song, Mr. Watts?
Suicide Drive. I always got the start wrong when we played it live, and John would always give me a bit of a look because I'd always come in with a crash a little bit late or something like that.
He strikes me as a man that can give a bit of a look.
He can give a bit of a look. I think, and this is a true story, Manny, when we were rehearsing with Primal Scream in London somewhere, said something along the lines of, not quote unquote, but you watch out for that Johnny boy, he wouldn't give you a call if your entire family was wiped out in a plane crash, mate. Ooh, I heeded those words. Yes, so that's my only real recollection from that. Wasn't a fan of playing drums to this track, to be honest. I like singing the chorus harmonies very much. I can take you around the universe in a hot-wired police car. We can ram raid Mars and Jupiter, Mars and Jupiter, and something else from afar. I can't remember. But yeah, great pop tune nonetheless.
Well, let's have a listen.
I can't believe I got the song wrong. I should have done my homework. Yes, that's Suicide Drive. It's not around the universe.
Yeah, perhaps not your favourite song on the album. I just picked that up. Yeah.
I think the bass playing from Stuart is mellifluous and marvellous. No, it wasn't actually. I didn't like that. I never got on with the cod reggae middle eight, you know. And I did struggle with that song a little bit, as I did 1999. But we'll come to that, perhaps.
Well, we might not come to that. Because I'm enjoying chatting to you so much that we might take a while.
Likewise, Nick.
There we go.
Yeah.
We are back to Do It Yourself. 2 more tracks from this. So, The Boy in the Picture, and then some song called Love Is the Law, which...
I remember that.
Yeah.
Boy in the Picture's a gorgeous song. John wrote that. There's some beautiful strings in it, and I do love the way it segues into Love Is the Law. I think there's about a second break between the two tracks, and of course that lick is just stunning. Yeah, my recollection of Love Is the Law isn't so much the recording of it. I was just saying though to Nick that I have got some very old VHS from the recording session at home that I haven't watched for years, and I'm filming John playing the solo, zooming in and out like a sort of episode of the Banana Splits. And I've got it all. I've never looked at it. I haven't looked at it for 20 years. I should dig it out. But my biggest recollection was making the video when I was dressed up as a Victorian copper, as we like to say, a peeler. I came out the Winnebago and a load of drunk guys were throwing stones at me, calling me a pig. I was like, dude, I'm a delicate pop star. You can't abuse me. They were chucking pebbles at me thinking I was a proper copper.
And then you came on this show and got abused instead.
Well, really not too. It's what I was put on this planet for, Nick. But I've got broad shoulders.
All right. Boy in the Picture.
That was average.
I like how you went for the subtle ending.
Chuffing, eh?
Yeah. Wow.
That's nice to hear.
Do you know, and we were debating. Well, not really much of a debate, was it? Go push for time. Should we do the single whole edit? And then we thought, no, we're celebrating the album here.
What a great piece of guitar playing. Do you know, for me, what makes that? I mean, aside of John's incredible guitar playing, Stuart's bass playing on that is phenomenal,
isn't it? It is.
It's just so funky. Yeah. Locked in with that drummer who was
some guy bashing around in the background. Yeah,
that was half decent. Funnily, what I remember from that, honestly, literally recording the solo, is I'm playing that Billy West, who did Ren and Stimpy's voice. Hey Ren, yes, Stimpy. Remember him? He was a friend of Tony Visconti's, and he came in the studio, and I couldn't believe it because I'm a massive Ren and Stimpy fan. And the day before, Ron and Russell Mail from Sparks were in, which totally blew my tiny little mind, because this tiny big enough for the both of us, man. It was incredible. So Tony Visconti was wheeling out all these mates that were frying my tiny little mind, and I had to do the tape for Love Is the Law with Billy West in the headphones while I'm trying to record it. You're like brutal on the drums, man. Oh my god. And being a huge fan of the Jesus Lizard, if you listen to Gladiator on their phenomenal album called Liar, the second track, Gladiator, is literally a... So the end of Love Is the Law is my little... Yeah, is my little Jesus Lizard moment, and I urge anyone who is a lover of music and very heavy pounding drums and guitars and abrasive music, check it out. The Jesus Lizard Gladiator off the album Liar, and Goat as well, another stunning album.
You know what, I think that the phrase "that was my Jesus Lizard moment" should be part of the everybody's repertoire.
Absolutely.
From now on in.
Can I tell you a little very quick Jesus Lizard story? When I was 23 years old, I blagged my way into the LA. Sorry. Oh no, it's funny. Go. These things spring to mind that you do invite me in. 23 years old, blagged my way into a Jesus Lizard gig at the LA2 in London, pretending to be an NME freelance journalist. Nice. They let me in. I interviewed the whole band, spent the night stage diving and drinking Maker's Mark with Dave Yao. There's a photograph of me somewhere, completely arsehole, sat on his lap at the end of the gig. I don't know who took it, but it's around somewhere. I adore that band. One of my favourite bands of all time. There you go.
No, excellent. I pretend I have a proper radio show. It's amazing it believes me. Right, I want to give it a shout. Chris Brown on the Twitter says, haven't heard the long version of this song for a long time. Think I like this breakdown bit more than the singing bit. There you go. That's do you know what? It works both ways, doesn't it? It was a great single, and but that extended version is just it is seminal.
I mean, Tony Burke, who was the head of A&R at Geffen, who did look just like Cliff Richard, he did the radio edit, and hey guys, I've edited the radio version, it's so awesome. I'm not sure we like that, but they'd already gone to the mastering house apparently. But I do recall as well doing the album, and we got to that little coda in the middle, the coda at the end. The coda is the end, sorry, not the outro, that's not a word, coda with the solo, and there was that Led Zepp moment, which we did 3 stabs, a whole lot of love is 2. We can't get away with that, but we did.
And you did. So
but it is very Zepp, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough. Was Love Is the Law the track that was on that TFI compilation that got you back
I don't
to number
know.
1? Yeah, because I saw a tweet from you when that went to number 1 in the charts. You said, I'm number 1 again.
I forgot about that. No, because someone, my friend Nico messaged me saying you're number 1 in the chart. What? What with? Yeah, and I couldn't believe it. That's right, yeah. I'd forgotten all about that. You know what my memory's like. I can't even remember the track listing of the album. Yeah, it was... What was that, 2 years ago or something?
Probably something like that when they brought it back briefly.
We did TFI... Oh, my days. We did TFI Friday doing Love Is The Law. Foo Fighters were playing. I saw Nirvana twice as a kid. Dave Grohl was there, obviously, with Pat Smear and the lineup of Foo Fighters. They did Monkey Wrench. We sound checked. Dave Grohl came up to me and said, "Hey, man, I love your singing and drumming. It's awesome." I was 26 years old. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I was so flattered. Then we went off and did gigs all over the place, Japan and whatever, in America and Germany. Hey, Andy, how's it going? Oh, hi, Dave.
My friend.
No, it was bless him. Dave Grohl is a lovely human being. He really is.
There we go. I have no argument from me. Right, so we're going to play, and we're celebrating Love Is the Law. Well, we are, but Do It Yourself by the Seahorses as it celebrates its 20th anniversary. Happiness is egg-shaped.
Well, yes. Well, actually, I can tell you a little story about that. Am I allowed to say something that rhymes with happiness? No.
If it's crappiness, yes, you can.
Yeah, from what I recall, John wrote it about a play on words about a penis is egg-shaped. Apparently, happiness is egg-shaped. I do believe.
Oh right, okay, yes.
I think I may be incorrect, but I do recall something along those lines. It's a lovely 2/4. I did enjoy playing this live on a regular basis and singing the backing vocals with Chris. I think it's a great little pop tune with a great lick.
Let's go for it then.
Live and local from the heart of Exeter. This is Phonic FM.
Yeah, it is Phonic FM. It is Nick and Andy here. We are both live and local.
Cooey, yes, it's Phonic FM. Sorry, you put me in front of a microphone, I turn into a child. I can't help it.
Hey, hang on, I can turn your mic off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, don't be a meanie.
All right, there you go. Only because I want you to tell us about Love Me and Leave Me.
Ooh,
right?
Yes.
Which, according to Common Triv, is Liam Gallagher's first songwriting credit.
Indeed.
So how did he end up co-writing a song on the Seahorses album?
Well, obviously we're all from roughly the same region up the north, and John and Noel and Liam were friends from way back, because obviously Liam and Noel loved Stone Roses, and Noel came to see us at our first proper gig at Wolverhampton Wolfram Hall, where all the guitars packed up and there were some issues, and Noel and I had a very good time all of the time backstage at that gig. I do recall he helped me with my PhD in chemistry that night, which was nice.
He's always one for the studying.
Very much so. He likes to get his head down and work very hard at his chemistry degree. They were very good friends for a long time, and John and Liam, I recall, got very drunk one night round at Liam's place, and they wrote that, and I think Liam came up with the lyrics for "Don't Believe in Jesus, Don't Believe in Jah," blah blah blah. There wasn't a blah 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 in there, but lots of very cool rhyming couplets. Beautiful song. And interesting aside, the video was produced by, it'll come back to me, a guy with very tight curly hair who also produced the Manic Street Preachers' Design for Life, and we upset loads of Manics fans because not Michael, it'll come back to me, I've forgotten his name. Anyway, the video was produced by this guy who did Design for Life by the Manics in the Roundhouse in Camden when it was still a shell of its former self.
Right.
And it's essentially the same video in the same venue, but with two different bands, and it was a little bit, as my middle daughter Rosa would say, orkies, because we got a lot of vitriol from Manics fans.
Oh dear.
Pedro Romani, that was the video director.
It's a good job Twitter wasn't around.
Exactly. Oh, it would have been brutal.
Right. Okay. Love Me and Leave Me. We're here with Andy Watts.
Hello.
Local singer, songwriter, musician, man about town, and
did I say Lothario earlier? I've already said that, so we won't say that. Bon viveur, raconteur.
That's it. Yeah, I'm going to give you that one. I'll give you that. Lothario, we draw the line. But
we draw the line. Let's keep it clean.
You can
for
have
the kids.
them. You can have
Thank
them.
you.
Right. So we are working our way through Do It Yourself by the Seahorses.
Yes.
Fantastic album celebrating its 20th anniversary.
Absolutely.
Released 20 years ago this Friday. Platinum as well.
It was platinum here. Platinum and gold here, gold in Japan, I recall as well. I've still got the discs at home.
World?
They're in my bathroom at home.
Yeah,
my little discs. Well, it's
nice.
One of those things. Where do you put them without looking like you're being slightly ostentatious and showing off?
Mate, if I had a gold disc, it would be in the window of my car. And I just drive around.
So they're sort of sat by the bidet in the by the chaise lounge in the bathroom. I don't know why I'm talking like that.
Well,
but talking of bidets and you just reminded me of a little tale that one of my dearest and most beloved friends, Jason Lee Hyde, reminded me of the other week.
Can I just say, as a radio host, when Andy Watts says talking of bidets. You kind of think, oh God, what?
No, it's clean.
Well, of course it would be bidet.
Yes, exactly. Well, yes. Anyway, I won't mention anything else about bidets. We the studio we recorded at the album Royal Toning Studios, which was bought by Linda Perry, who wrote a lot of hits for Madonna. There was a moonlit jacuzzi in the studio. It was one of the most opulent places I've ever recorded in. When I went there for the first time at 26, my jaw was agape because I'd always ever worked in studios the size of this room. You know, tiny, your feet stuck to the carpets, blah blah blah, no daylight. There was 2 bedrooms. It was a mock Scottish castle interior. And there was a jacuzzi, literally the size of the swimming pool I learned to swim in Dewsbury, West Yorkshire. It was massive. and this was in Select magazine as well. I think the pictures online, you can see us all lounging around in this very large jacuzzi. And we got to the point where we thought it was fun to fill it full of shampoo. And it filled the room with shampoo when it was on. It cost us $800 a time to get it drained or something. And me and Martin Herbert, who was one of the crew, who was a very large 18-stone Yorkshireman, we decided it was a good idea to get naked, get covered in foam from the aforementioned jacuzzi and walk around the studio covered in foam. Somewhere Tony Visconti's got a picture of me kind of leaning against a wall, covered in foam, looking like a kind of psychedelic Michelin man. And at the time, I do recall, I think the head of A&R from A&M Music was being shown around the studio, and Martin and I just marched through the entire live room in front of these, seriously loaded A&R guys from A&M Records. And again, it takes me back to a little point with Love Is The Law, which I forgot to mention to you about the tambourines on Love Is The Law. Martin and I think maybe Chris or Stuart could correct me if I'm wrong, we did stereo naked tambourine playing to that track in the live room, how it made Tony Visconti howl. But we were young men at the time and did silly, foolish things.
I'm pleased to inform the listeners that there are no naked tambourine playing escapades planned for the remainder of the show.
Well, I haven't got a tambourine with me tonight, and that's not going to happen.
Good. Okay, so next track. Let's go. Because although there's 4 tracks left of the album, we're going to skip 1999 because it's not one of Andy's favourites. I've got to be honest, I just always felt it was a bit of a wannabe, substandard, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Sweet Home Alabama. And I found, if I'm completely honest, I found the lyrics a little bit trite towards women, so I think we can move on from that. We'll give that a miss. So we got talking doing that about Glastonbury for a very big piece, and I forgot. We had a question come in that says, "Is it true that you played Glastonbury Festival barefoot?"
I always play barefoot. Yeah,
always play
drums,
barefoot.
not guitar and singing. Not when I'm playing acoustic, but yeah, always play drums barefoot. Okay. Always. I like to feel the metal. It sounds a bit strange, but I like to feel the metal on my feet, and I like to feel more. I think if you're disconnected from the drums because you're holding a pair of sticks. You play the guitar or the piano, you're touching them. So when you're playing drums, you've got 2 wooden sticks in your hands. So if you're wearing shoes, you've got a sole that's disconnecting you. So I really like to feel, the hi-hats and the kick drum pedals under my feet. And the other thing that we did as well, which was gorgeous, was my drum throne, my stool. We had 2 bass subwoofers attached under the seat, so I had a feed from Stuart's bass rig,
right,
and my
right.
kick drums coming up through the throne, so I literally had Stuart's bass up my arse. It's true. Sorry, my posterior for radio. You can edit that. So yeah, I and it's not a kind of hippie, hey, I want to be really earthy, man, and connect with my musical instrument. It really is about just that kind of visceral feeling that if I'm, that skin on metal or whatever, I'm more connected, and I always played more abrasively and more heavily. Glastonbury was, I never ever thought I'd ever play anywhere of a sizable audience, let alone 40,000 people at Glastonbury and then 60,000 people supporting U2. It was phenomenal. And one of my favourite memories of Glastonbury was Brian Molko from Placebo.
Yeah.
I can't even say that. Brian Molko from Placebo trying to get very friendly with Chris backstage. And I think we just got back from the States, and Chris had he'd been seeing Winona Ryder briefly. Ooh, clank, name drop. And the Daily Star, I will never forget this, put the delightful headline in their newspaper about Chris and Winona Ryder, and it said, "He wants to ride her."
Classy.
How awful is that? Good old British scum journalism.
It's Daily Star, so there you go. We've got 2 to play, and we've got 10 minutes left.
Cool.
Right.
I'll be quiet.
So, Standing on Your Head.
Yes.
Well, actually, no. Let's just play this, and then before we play the final track, we'll come back and just talk about.
All I can say about Standing on Your Head is that I played djembe on it, which is an African drum. That's my only recollection of it. And it was a Stone Roses song, I believe. The only Stone Roses song that John brought to the table.
Andy, we are almost here at the end of the show.
We're here. We're not there.
M&M as part of his standard rider. You have to take all the brown ones out, as you would expect.
I did take all the brown ones out, but I have to thank you from the bottom of my heart, Nick, for supplying the M&Ms as requested by my management team.
We do what we can, and sometimes barely that.
You've always made me a welcome guest. That's all I can ask for. Thank you very much.
So we're at that stage of the show, Andy, where it's the final thoughts.
The Twilight Zone. What would you like a final thought on, Nick?
How about the record we've been playing?
Oh yeah,
that one.
Anything in any particular context, or?
Well, I mean, it's 20 years.
Ask any question.
It's the only thing that you recorded with this band.
It's the only decent thing I ever did.
It's the peak of your commercial success.
It was indeed, very much so. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
Yes, and a very lucky chap I was as well to be a part of it.
So, are you happy with this as part of your legacy? Do you play it for your kids?
Yeah. Well, as I said to you earlier, we all sat and listened to it a few years ago in its entirety on vinyl, and I think that the joy of being a musician, and especially if you do get to do something that is commercially successful, is to leave your little mark on popular culture, and I do love that, and I've played in stacks of bands through my life, some that have done stuff, some have done nothing, had a few single of the weeks here and there, but nothing that gained that kind of success and that enabled me to fulfill so many childhood dreams, like going on Top of the Pops a few times, touring Japan, America, making friends with people like Dave Grohl and sorry, I just dropped a brown M&M then. I found one. So that's not a euphemism for taking drugs, kids, by the way. And it was a joy to do. It really was a great experience because it came out of the blue for me. I'd settled down to a nice regular job, and Chris and Stuart, bless them, tracked me down through friends of friends and left some numbers on my phone. And as I say, joined the band, and 3 weeks later or something, we were off to LA to do the album. And two of my really favourite abiding memories from that time was one in Los Angeles, driving down Sunset Boulevard in an open-top hired Mustang I'd got my hands on, with Tony Visconti, the producer who worked with Bowie and T-Rex, and LA Woman came on the radio by the Doors, and we just looked at each other and started laughing, and it was one of those mind-blowingly beautiful LA days. It was incredible. And then 3 years ago I got to go back there with my best mate Jason Lee, who we talked about earlier, and we had a road trip around California together. We revisited Royal Tone and hung out in LA, and it was great. It was lovely to go back and see it all and see Jane, the manager from Royal Tone, who I'm still friends with. So that was a great experience. And then one day, coming out the front door of my house in Greenwich, and the guy opposite looking at me, because the record label used to send nice cars to pick us up, and there was this guy in a peak cap and a black type Mercedes, and my neighbour said, "Oh, Anne, what do you do for a living, mate?" And the one and only time I've ever said it, "Oh, I'm a rock star." What are you doing here, son? I started playing the Seahorses. God, be lucky.
Well, you are indeed a rock star, Andy, and you're one of our favourite ones. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
I'm an aging has-been, darling. Don't you forget it.
we are going to play out, and very kindly, since we've gone over our time already. But we keep going.
We can do it.
Right? They'll drag us out of the studio. Right?
Drag us kicking and screaming.